Hello again. Here we are continuing the series of videos about Ogre Battle. In this opportunity, we're gonna keep talking about the class system in this game. So, without any further delay, let's get into it. Okay, since we did an extensive review about the human male classes, in this opportunity, we are gonna review their counterpart, the human female classes. The first class that we are gonna talk about is the Amazon. As we can see, the Amazon is nothing special, and the reason is because it's the starter female class, and it's a precursor of all the other ones that are available in the game. As we can see, the stats are pretty low. Strength gain of 2 to 4 points every level up, agility 3 to 5, which is slightly better than the fighter, agility, intelligence 2 to 4, also slightly better, and the reason is because the Amazon and the classes that evolve in, after her, they are not supposed to remain in the front row, rather they are mostly magical attackers that remain in the back row. Now, the fact that they are in the back and they are mostly magical doesn't mean that they are bad by any means. In fact, they are pretty good and part of a balanced part of a balanced squad is that it's composed by males and females. And as we can see, as we will see in a second, some of these female units are indispensable in order to ensure your progress in the game and the progress in the stages. Okay. The Amazon itself only has one attack in the front row and 2 attacks in the back row. They are shooting arrows, and it's a ranged attack, but it has the advantage of being ranged, but it has the disadvantage that it's a lot weaker than the physical attack that the fighter has in the front row. Okay. After the Amazon, we have the Witch, which is, as you can see here, we have the example of a level 15 Witch. We can see that her strength and her agility are rather pathetic, but it has an amazing intelligence growth. Now, you might think, wow, this is easily the counterpart of the Wizard. Not really. Although her attack in the back row is magic based, it's not an attack that damages the enemy, rather is a status effect. Stun Cloud is an attack that is area of effect, affects every member of the enemy unit and gives them a chance of paralyze them for 1 turn to all the way to the end of the battle. Now, as good as it sounds, actually it's a very crappy attack because it's just chance based. It's based also on the intelligence stat, and this is the sad and more important part of it. It doesn't work on bosses. Okay. Also, it's an attack that can easily be left if one of your own units attack the enemy. They can easily be snapped out of the effects of this attack. However, despite of how crappy her stats are, it has the possibility of it has an amazingly good intelligence growth. So why would you want to use the Witch? Well, mostly to gain levels and transform her into another class like the Cleric or more important, the Valkyrie, because the Valkyrie's attacks are actually intelligence based, and a Valkyrie that has grown with Witch status can really be an amazingly powerful unit. The other thing that you have is that as you progress in the game, you will have, and this is a spoiler, but there is a stage when a certain witch gives you the chance of making an errand that will earn you an item that if you keep it and if you give it to a specific witch it will give her the chance of recruiting a special class of demi-humans called pumpkins. And we are not gonna talk about the pumpkins yet, but it's really not that big of an advantage, since the pumpkin is not a really good unit. But the witch is the only unit in the game that can recruit them if the witch is the leader of said platoon. Okay, that's about the witch, and that's the final form that the witch reaches. Doesn't have any class that comes after her. So if you want to see the witch as something different, you simply will have to take her back to being an Amazon, and then transform her into the class that you really want. Okay, that's about the witch. Oh, also the alignment of the witch is the lowest, so if you have an Amazon that has gone way too much to the dark side, this is probably the option that you will have available, since the requirements to become a witch are having a charisma of 50 and above, but an alignment of 65 to 0. Okay, so having the chance of becoming a witch it's hardly ever gonna be an issue for an Amazon with low alignment. Along with the Amazon, we have the Valkyrie, and this is, I would say, one of the best. In fact, it's an incredibly good human magic attack. This class is a hybrid between a physical and a magical attacker. Personally, and what you should do also is you would want to keep her in the back row, since her attacks in the front, they cause average damage. They will never hit as hard as a knight, for instance, or a paladin. So, however, they're attacking the back. The Valkyrie has an attack called Lightning that is, as redundant as it sounds, lightning elemental attack, and it's ranged, so it will attack one specific enemy in the enemy platoon. Okay, twice. It's a very, very good attacker, especially in the first third of the game. However, you will want to change her into her following class as soon as possible. And this is like the counterpart of the knight within the female classes for humans. As you can see, their strength growth is pretty mediocre. Her agility and intelligence, however, is rather decent-ish if we compare it to the witch. The witch is a lot better. That's why I say, if you want to get a really, really strong Valkyrie that will do a lot of damage with her back attack, you might consider letting her grow as a witch for a while and then changing her back to a Valkyrie. Taking care, of course, that her alignment remains high. Okay. The next class is the overpowered Valkyrie. In the Super Nintendo and PlayStation version, the name of this class is Muse. In the Sega Saturn, it's called a Freya. And we can see that if you thought that the Valkyrie was good, the Muse, it's really, really amazing. It's basically like the female version of the Doll Master, but instead of having an area of effect physical attack as the Doll Master had, this one is lightning based, and it's really, really powerful, really good, and pretty much a lifesaver. Especially because the Muse is not really an expensive unit. Now, if we compare the stats growth from the Valkyrie, this Muse has a little higher strength growth, and that's it. Again, the Muse is not a unit that is supposed to be in the front, and you will have the chance of having better units in the front row, so don't commit that mistake with her. just keep her in the back where where she's supposed to be. This unit is an absolute must have. This is the cleric, and it's the your premier healer. And as you can see, it has the same issues as the regular magical classes in the fact that she has very strong, very low strength, very low agility, but has a rather decentish intelligence. Intelligence is just an aspect of how that determines how powerful her healing abilities will be, because the healing skill also depends on your alignment. So the higher your alignment, the more potent your healing skill will be, and the more HP she will recover. In the front, this unit has a wholly based physical attack. It's good that it's holy, but the only reason you would want her to use it is to attack undead units. However, if you keep her in the back and you put your tactic settings in the battle as anything but strong, instead of healing your unit, what this class will do is she will use her healing attack as an area of effect holy attack that will attack every single undead unit, and since the undead units in this game have 0 HP, she will vaporize them instantly. So she's decently powerful also. But never keep her in the front. She's supposed to be in the back, and keep at least one. Having two, there are several enemy units that like to have two clerics or healers in their squads, and that's extremely redundant and annoying. And if you follow that rule, it's gonna be counterproducent, because one cleric is more than enough, in my opinion at least. Okay. The next class that we have comes immediately above the cleric, and that's the shaman. The shaman, you can change into this class relatively early into the game, as soon as you reach level 10. Your charisma and your alignment must be over 60. And you ask, well, if my alignment and charisma change when I kill units, then how come that you can generate enough charisma and alignment to change into this class, since this is not an attacking class? Well, it's simple. There are units in this game that are undead, and they are in early stages in this game. There is a stage in particular where they are around level 7, level 8, and as you just have to attack the enemy units or the neutral encounters that you have. There are also undeads, and that will ensure that every single of your clerics will reach enough charisma and alignment to meet the requirements for the next class. Okay, differences with the cleric. We have that their agility and intelligence stat growth is higher. That's great. And the attacking fronts remain the same. You don't want to keep them in the front. But what's amazing is that now, instead of healing twice, it the shaman has the chance of using her healing skill 3 times in the game, and her skill is more powerful than in the cleric. If you thought that this was good, wait until the next one. The monk comes right after the cleric. You can become a monk when your shaman reaches level 18 and charisma and alignment over level 70. Don't worry, by the time you reach this level, your shamans most likely will be meeting these requirements anyway, so don't be afraid. What do we have different? The stats remain the same as the shaman, but The game desperately wants to sell the monk as an attacking unit, and again, she isn't. Yes, you have an extra attack in front. Still, don't buy it. Don't buy into it. Keep her in the back. You say, well, she has healing. The shaman has 3 healings in the back, and then the monk 2 healings in the back. If you can tell, the healing has a plus after it. You guessed. This amazing unit will heal your whole squad twice in the same battle by a very high amount. Also, the monk alone is gonna ensure that you are gonna remain alive and unscathed, unharmed during most of the fights in the whole game. The only time where you might need some extra support is in the later stage, probably. Okay, but the monk is absolutely a must-have. She's an amazing unit and is, again, the only healing. This is why I was telling you when we were talking about the male classes that the only male class that has a healing skill is the paladin, and it's only used once. Why would you want to have your paladin healing when you have these ladies over here, right? Okay, next class. This one is the last member of the Amazon family, and this lady single-handedly can transform your game into mere paperwork. She trivializes the game, and she is a pretty broke unit. You might ask, how is it? I mean, her stats are easily the worst in the whole human classes. I mean, you have that her HP is extremely low, her strength is pathetic, her agility sucks, and her intelligence is just as high as the witch. And her cost is a lot more expensive. Well, here's the thing. You can only become a princess if you're Amazon, not you. Your Amazon can become a princess if you find the extremely horribly rare item called Dream Tiara. It's a drop, just like the undead staff, the undead ring, the Dragon Stone, and she will turn into this lady. This lady has 2 different attacks. In the front, you say, well, she has Starlight in the front times 2, Star Tiara in the back times 1, so she's supposed to be in the front, right? Nope. For starters, Starlight is a physical attack, has no special properties, and is weak as hell. Not weak because the attack is weak by itself, it's because her strength is so horribly low that having her in the front is useless. In the back, she has Star Tiara, that is an area of effect attack. Holy Elemental, that means that she will absolutely devastate enemies with low alignment or undeads. She will simply destroy them. She won't even bother damaging them, she will just destroy them, just like the monk does. Now, what makes her so good is not the fact that she has this amazing attack in the back, but if you manage to get one and you designate her as the unit leader, she will immediately increase every single attack in the whole squad times 1. That means that if you have for instance, Muse in that same unit, instead of having 2 cleaves and 2 thunder flares, she will have access to 3 cleaves and 3 thunder flares. Healing times, in the case of this one, times 4 instead of times 3. And you guessed, if we go to the Leech, if you remember what I said about the Leech becomes a literal death machine, because this lady here will allow the leech to use magic times 4. Now think about this. A princess that can use, that is the unit leader, and you have 1 or maybe 2 leeches. Let's say 1. You will have, and the other thing is her own attacks will be increased by 1. So think about this. The princess and the leech single-handedly, together, can get rid of a whole enemy squad on their own. And let's leave it at that. She is an amazing unit, and consider yourself extremely blessed if you manage to get an early drop of the item that will turn any of your Amazons into this lady. Something that I would do is, you can also prepare, if you don't want, or if you're lucky enough, if you were preparing a witch to become a muse, you can easily replace, instead of making her become a muse, you can make her become a princess, and then you will have a really worthy holy attacker. The princess is a very good unit if you manage to build her correctly. Okay, so that's what we can tell about female classes. The next family of classes that we have are non-human or demi-human, and they are also divided between male classes and female. So without any more delay, here we are going to talk about the first one. The Hawkman is a unit that you will find fairly easy. You will meet them in the 3rd map of the game at a very early level, and to be honest with you, they can be compared to the fighters in the respect that their status growth are very similar, except that their agility is a point higher. However, they don't have the potential as the human male classes or their versatility. The Hawkman, however, has the advantage that they can fly. They are qualified as low sky types, meaning that they will ignore terrain except if you are going through a mountain. That's the only terrain that will slightly slow them down. Other than that, they will go through pretty much any other terrain without any issues in straight line. They are usually what you will want to have. You have the chance of making several units. The game, if you play the way you're supposed to, will give you a unit with Hawkman and the following, that is the Eagleman. They will give you a unit with that, and you can, if you raise their charisma and their alignment, that can become the unit that you will use to liberate towns, and you will save a lot of time and a lot of trouble. Okay? Other than that, for fights, this is not really a class that I would recommend. They are not really good fighters. They are not very strong either. And again, the amount of attacks they have per fight is very limited. 2 hit attacks, and they also tend to miss a lot. Okay. The next class is the direct upgrade from the Hawkman. You can become one of these guys at level 10 with a charisma over 50 and alignment over 45. And the main difference that they have is that they have slightly better HP, better agility, and slightly better intelligence. And they will replace their back row attack from hit to single ranged lightning elemental attack called Thunder Aurora. Pretty mediocre. These guys are really, I have a very poor opinion about them. As, again, the only thing that you should use them for is as a liberating unit, and that's it. I mean, you can give them, you can equip them with items to try to string them up a little bit, but they are still not meant to fight. They are units that are supposed to interact in the map, but they will never be able to take on a boss, for instance, without the help of tarot cards. You want units that will be more sufficient. However, there are many troops, many units in this game whose role is not precisely fighting, but filling other positions. So, in and of itself, the Eagleman is slightly better than the Hawkman. We have another class that is the Ravenman. The Ravenman is the lower alignment counterpart to the Eagleman. And in order to become one, you have to have a Hawkman on level 12. Charisma over 50, but alignment 55 or lower. The status growth are basically the same as the Eagleman, and oddly enough, it's slightly cheaper. And the other difference that they have is that their back row attack, instead of being an electric attack, it's a fire elemental attack. Other than that, it's exactly the same character as the Eagleman. So, and this one is has lower alignment, so it's not even that good to liberate towns either. So if you want to have a few of these guys just to check them out, that's fine and good and everything, but I would take the Eagleman over the Raven. Okay, next class we have the Imp. Okay, this unit is very interesting in the respect that they are very similar to fighters. The difference is that, as just like the Hawkman, they can also fly. So everything I said about the Hawkman applies to these guys. However, I think these guys are very worth keeping. Not because the class itself is that good, but because their final form that you reach around in the second half of the game, it's easily one of the nastiest attackers, non-human attackers that you get, magical attackers that you can get in this game. Okay, well, not game-changing, but still very good and very fun to have. Keep at least one or two of these guys around. Okay, the game builds them as hybrid physical and magical attackers. I personally prefer to keep them in the back. Nightmare is a really interesting black magic attack that is ranged. The next class is the Demon. That's an imp who has reached level 10, charisma over 50, and alignment under 40. These guys are meant to be used if you decide to have units that are more leaning to the evil side. Again, don't use these units to liberate towns, because your chaos frame or reputation gauge will suffer. Differences with the imp: their status are slightly better, and he gains an extra attack in the back row, at making Nightmare attacking twice instead of one, and that's always good to have. And then these guys can evolve into this guy, the Devil. In the Sega Saturn, it's called Satan. And they changed their 2 range Nightmare attacks in the back row for the area of effect attack, Black Magic, Meteor Strike. And that's a very amusing attack. It's a huge meteor that falls into the enemy units and attack all of them, and it can be pretty powerful, especially considering that their intelligence growth is pretty decent. It's it's almost as decent as human mages. Okay, so the meteor strike will do a generous amount of damage. Too bad it only strikes once, unless you happen to pair them with a princess and you make the princess a unit leader. In that case, it will attack twice. Okay. Next, we have the pumpkin. If you remember, I was mentioning these funny little creatures when we were talking about the witch. You will see them for the first time in a unit, in a map called the Nev's Garden. It's not really a spoiler because it's a rather early stage, around the sixth or seventh map that you use. And these guys are very particular. They don't. In their case, the only stat that really would matter is the agility, not the strength, not intelligence, because they have an attack that it's in Super Nintendo and PlayStation is called Pumpkin. For some reason, in the Sega Saturn, the attack was translated as Drug Eater, and I see that more as a joke from the translating team. They wanted to mess with them. And what does this attack do? It's basically a big ass pumpkin that falls into. It's a ranged attack, so you can pretty much decide who is going to be attacked with it. And what it does is that it cuts the HP of an enemy unit in half. You would think that it's a pretty broken attack, and to an extent it kinda is. It's really useful to use against monsters like dragons, for instance, that are tanks and they have a ton of HP. Having these attacks cutting their HP in half in one move, it's a very, very sweet move. And it doesn't end there. It has the quality, despite of not being a holy attack, it's just a physical attack in fact. It can instantly kill undeads. Now, something that I'm gonna go a little ahead and I'm gonna tell you that undeads are invulnerable to every single kind of attack in the game, except Holy Elemental, or if you are equipping, if you are giving a holy weapon to a physical attack, so it will their attack will become, instead of physical, will be holy, or if they are attacked by one of these guys. And those are the only kind of attacks that can get rid of undead units. And the cleric, of course. And the princess. However, this attack, because it's so broke, it doesn't work on bosses. So it has to have a flaw, otherwise it would be a completely broken attack. And if you happen to bump into an item called Pumpkin Plus or Rotten Pumpkin, depending on which version you are playing, you can transform the pumpkin head or the pumpkin into this little guy called a Halloween. And yes, as you can see, their stats are better, and regardless of their position in the front or in the back, they gain an extra pumpkin attack, making them a lot more versatile and a lot more useful. Although, again, their pumpkin attack tends to miss pretty often, so just keep. In my opinion, I wouldn't keep more than one squad with one of these guys, or with maybe two. Especially if you see that you're being attacked by squads that have dragons, for instance. These guys are amazing to fight them. Okay? Again, not recommended to face a boss with them because the pumpkin and the Halloween attacks won't affect them. Okay? Tigerman and Werewolf. These two guys, they are pretty nasty. and because they are so nasty, they have a limiter. And instead of making them an extremely amazing unit, they are just half amazing. What is that issue? They are only useful during the night. Just like when we talk about the vampire in the human class, these guys have the same issue, not as acute of a problem as the vampire, in the aspect that they don't become completely useless during the day, but their stats and attacks drop and suffer significantly during the day. So these guys are designed to attack exclusively during the night if you want to make full use of them. Their attack, in the case of the Were Tiger, it has 2 attacks in the back and 2 attacks in the front row, so it doesn't really matter where you put them. It's a swing attack, and it's a black magic, black elemental physical attack. Okay. And given that the Tigerman has very good stats, I would recommend keep at least one of these guys. Okay, has pretty good stats, but only has 2 attacks. And in order for you to get a Tigerman, there are 2 ways to get them. There is an item that is a random drop called Persuasion Spell. And there is a certain stage in the game that happen to have these guys as enemies, but that stage is in the second half of the game, so by the time you reach them, you probably are gonna have way better fighters than this guy. Or get them as early as getting an item called Full Moonstone, and if you have a unit, in order to get them, you have to have a slot available in the unit that is going to recruit one. You take them in any map. It doesn't matter if it's on day or night. You use this item, the Full Moonstone, and it will automatically summon one of these guys, which will join your group 2 levels under the level of your opinion leader. Okay, if your opinion leader, your lord, is level 7, for instance, any Were Tiger that you will recruit around that time will be level 5. Okay. Then we have the Werewolf. The Werewolf, you can see that it's pretty much the same as the Were Tiger, except that it has an extra attack. And the reason why it's not necessarily that much better than the Were Tiger is because to compensate the extra attack, his stats are also lower than the Were Tiger. So basically it's tit for tat. You can choose whatever you want. However, I never keep these guys because I like units that I can use the whole time. That's why I don't care about vampires, I don't care about the werewolves or the Were Tigers. And the reason why I don't care about them is because during the day, these 2 extremely powerful units morph back to this guy. Yes, you see that it has the same shape as a basic fighter human male, and that's precisely what they are, just with slightly better stats and just one single attack, whether it's in the front or in the back. So they are simply no help whatsoever. Okay, that's about the male half human units. Then we have the non-human female classes. Here we have the Angel. The Angel is a really, at the beginning, nothing overwhelming. It's pretty underwhelming, actually. It only has 1 attack in front and 1 attack in the back. They are both ranged attacks, but Banish is a lot stronger. And the advantage of keeping these guys is because think about this as holy imps. I mean, I know it's an oxymoron, but they have the same characteristics, and the fact that they are low sky type, meaning that the terrain that where you're gonna use them is not really, it doesn't really matter that much. However, and their first and second forms are nothing too special. Her stats are average, but not too bad, not too good. You can tell that she has 1 extra point in intelligence, and she's gonna need every single point of intelligence that she can get, because Banish, especially Banish, is an intelligence-based attack. Okay. The upgrade to the angel is the Cherubim, which is an angel that has reached at least level 11, and whose charisma is over 60 and alignment over 55. We can tell that her strength and agility remains the same, as well as the HP, but their intelligence stat grows 1 point farther. And also she gains an extra attack in the front and an extra attack in the back. Because their strength is so low, you will want, and her front attack is pretty pathetic. The right position for your angel and cherubim is in the back. Okay, the cherubims are already pretty decent units, but they are not the best this branch has to offer. Now, the reason you would want to keep, and not less than one, you would want to have at least a few of these guys, is because, these ladies I mean, is because of this. We have the Seraphim, who is a cherubim that has reached level 22, charisma over 70, alignment over 80. Yes, this unit is the ultimate holy unit in the game, with the highest alignment requirement for obvious reasons. And this unit simply rocks. I mean, pair this unit with a princess and you will have the ultimate undead or low alignment unit killer in the game. Why? Because the humble ranged attack called Banish in the Seraphim, it changes into the area of effect holier than thou extra powerful attack called Jihad, which will have the same effect as the Starlight from the princess. It's a holy attack that will obliterate undead. And also because her intelligence stat is so high, this attack tends to be devastating, to say the least. So they are really, the Seraphim is an extremely good unit to have. But again, in order to have that, you have to carry the cherubims and the angels with you. Okay? It's a very good unit. Then you have the fairy. The fairy is a very simple and unique unit that plain sucks. Yes, it's supposed to be the logical counterpart to the imp in the game, with the difference that unlike the imp, the fairy is terrible in the back and it's even worse in the front. The imp could be used in any position, it could still deliver. This one doesn't even do that. However, you would want to keep at least one of these little girls with you. And the reason I say that is because, well, for starters, look at their agility stat. It's very high. Second, look at that intelligence stat. It's also pretty high. Let's take a look at her attacks. In the front, she has an attack called Beat that is as pathetic as putting a witch in the front row and with the same miserable results. And in the back, she has an attack that is called a Kiss or a Blown Kiss, and what we'll do is racing slightly. It's a ranged skill that will be used in within members of your unit, your squad, and will slightly raise their attack and defense. To me, that's not necessarily a reason to use them that much, but you will want to keep them around and leveling them up, because you have the next class the fairy evolves into is the pixie, and guess what? Still sucks, but has an even better agility growth. What does it mean? You're thinking, what does it mean? She's gonna attack sooner and do nothing. Yeah, but also remember, agility also raises your chances of evading physical attacks, making her a very hard to hit unit, and that's why her low HP doesn't really matter that much. Neither does her strength, because she can evade attacks, like physical attacks, like it's none of her business. Her intelligence is the same as the fairy, and she attack-wise she only has one extra kiss in the back, meaning that she can enhance to the twice instead of once, and on top of everything, her kiss attack doesn't even stack. That means that a second one applied to the same unit twice won't do any good. Okay? And yes, she still sucks, but bear with me, because the next one is the Sylph. She is a pixie that has reached a level 20, doesn't have a charisma requirement, and your fairy can become one if her alignment is neutral between 40 and 80, and that's really not that big of a deal to accomplish, because remember, if you kept your pixie or your fairy in the back, her alignment is gonna remain the same. So that's where she should stay. She has an obscene agility, she has very good intelligence, and she changes her pathetic kiss attacks. She stops the sexual harassment, and she changes that into a strong magic missile attack, which is just like the Jihad from the Angel. Except that because her intelligence stat is maybe not as high as the Seraphim, is not as strong, but is equally cheap, and these troops are generally cheaper than the Angels anyway. So if you didn't want to go through the trouble of raising Angels, you can easily replace them with Sylphs, but you will have to bear the fact that until they reach level 20, pixies are pretty much, fairies are pretty much dead weight in your troops. But it pays eventually at the second half of the game. Okay. Then we have the mermaid, which is, let's see, how can I say this? Terrible and mediocre. Yes, she is just average. I mean, you can say that she's a medium, not because she can see not because she can talk to the dead, but because she's just medium. She's average. She's not good, she's not bad, she's medium. She doesn't have a very good stat growth of stats in any field. Slightly higher intelligence attack. They are too mediocre to be in the front, although the game tries to sell you this unit desperately as an attacker, a physical attacker. They are not. If you are stubborn enough to keep one, and I actually, you know what, I do keep one squad with one or two of these ladies, just because it's good to cover all bases. The only time when this class is slightly useful is when you have maps with a lot of water, like sea stages or lakes. Yeah, it's a bit narrow of a niche, but they can shine sometimes. The preferred position for them is in the back. Although they only attack once, they have a magical ice elemental attack that is ranged and will attack one of the enemy units once. However, if you keep one of these ladies long enough, you will get a unit that is slightly less useless, and that's the Nixie, and that's the final form of the mermaid family. What's the saving grace of this? Why would you want to have one? Simply because you can get them at a pretty early-ish level. I mean, you can become your mermaid can become a Nixie as soon as level 11 with an alignment over 15. Her intelligence and all of her stats in general, they become a lot more decent, a lot more competitive. But what makes this unit suck so hard, especially if you compare her with a character like the Valkyrie or the Muse, is that the stats are similar, but the Muse and the Valkyrie have way more attacks. The Nixie has only one attack in the back that, yes, is area of effect, ice attack, and that's fine and good, but only attacks once. The Muse attacks twice. So really is, again, only keep one of these in your army, and only if you really need them, if you want to go through water stages slightly faster. Other than that, you can just forget about them. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the video we have for you today. There are still many more classes to review, and this is just so you have an idea on how extensive and how much material you can get from this game. Not because of that is less entertaining or less engaging. So I invite you to bear with me, to keep watching the videos that we are uploading. And remember, if you like what you are seeing, well, I invite you to give us a like, and by any means subscribe if you feel like it. Until the next time.